Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode where we are going to discuss one of Disney's most important characters, and it's not Mickey Mouse. Welcome to Teacup For One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. A while ago, I did an episode all about Ariel and her significance as Disney's first revisionist princess. So basically, she was a princess that kind of fit the mold of what we expected from a Disney princess, but in a lot of ways, she went against expectations. She had more agency than the princesses we'd seen before. She had a clear goal and objective and followed the musical theater conventions of expressing that through a beautiful song, and a lot of this development was attributed to Howard Ashman, and rightly so. Howard Ashman was a creative genius who revolutionized how Disney made their animated films. He was the one who thought, we need to bring the Broadway musical into the world of animation. But Disney Plus has a whole documentary slated to premiere about Howard Ashman in a couple of weeks, and that one will probably do a far better job of telling you about his life and his contributions than I ever could. So today I want to focus on another creative genius, one whose name is not as familiar as Howard Ashman's, but should be. Linda Woolverton, the woman who created Belle. I've already done a video on which Disney princess I believe is the best Disney princess, and no spoilers, but I will link the video in the description or up here somewhere. I've also spoken about Ariel and the impact that she had, but there's something extra special about Belle. And in a lot of ways, I do honestly believe that she might be Disney's most important character. And yes, I know, Mickey Mouse, very important, obviously. Without Mickey, there's no Disney. But here's the thing. In the 1980s, Disney was struggling. And creatively speaking, a lot of that is because they were depending on creating their films the way that they did them when Walt was still around and still in charge. For decades, classic Disney animated films had their stories developed during the storyboarding process, where a bunch of animators and storyboard artists would collaborate and then come up with the script together. And then when Walt was alive, that was a great system because he was able to oversee everything, and he was a creative storytelling genius. His intuition was able to push those projects towards success. That's not something that everybody can do. So when Walt was gone, it became a lot more difficult. And then the studio was hitting a bunch of roadblocks, especially with Beauty and the Beast, which was a story that the studio had been trying to develop into a film for years. So studio head Jeffrey Katzenberg made the decision to do something that the studio had never done before, and he brought in a dedicated screenwriter to work on Beauty and the Beast. Not an animator, a screenwriter. Enter Linda Woolverton. Linda Woolverton was already working for Disney. She had initially been hired as a writer on a Winnie the Pooh project that never actually got produced, but then she was moved on to Beauty and the Beast. And this is what is so amazing about Linda Woolverton. From what I understand, she wasn't hired to revolutionize the Disney princess. She wasn't hired to write a film that would go on to become the first animated film ever nominated for Best Picture. She was just hired to provide the animators with a script and story unity. But she recognized that this was an opportunity to incorporate her own secret agenda. Her words, not mine.
So when they brought me in to write Beauty, I thought, oh, now here's my opportunity to change the perception of the Disney victim heroine. I was subversive. I didn't tell them my agenda. I have never told them my agenda. And I always had the agenda.
She recognized that with this position, she became Spider-Man. With great power came great responsibility. This was an opportunity for her to evolve the Disney princess. All the previous Disney princesses, up to and including Ariel in some ways, were products of their time. But there was a need to evolve the character, especially when you were working with a story where the title character was literally defined by her beauty, and in the source material, used as currency by her father to escape being kidnapped. Yeah, that had to change. That wasn't going to fly in the 90s. She knew she wanted to create a character who wasn't passive, and she drew inspiration from her own life, as well as Katharine Hepburn's portrayal of Jo March in Little Women. It always comes back to Katharine Hepburn on this channel. Make me a torpedo, Mr. Allnut. About Hepburn's influence on Belle, Woolverton said, though the character of Jo is more tomboyish, both were strong, active women who loved to read and wanted more than life was offering them. But it wasn't as simple as just writing the script and then passing it off to the animation department to start drawing to the words. She faced a lot of pushback because the animation department was not used to working with a screenwriter. And on top of that, she was the only woman in a male-dominated field, which didn't make things any easier. She developed a clear idea in her head of who Belle was, and she really had to push to make it happen. A story that they tell a lot is about how she wrote one scene in the script where Belle had a map laid out on the table with pins of all the places in the world she wanted to visit, and then the animators changed that to her baking a cake for Maurice for some reason, and then she was like, excuse me, Belle would know how to bake a cake, and also, that's not what I wrote. Throughout this whole creative process, Woolverton basically was Belle. She was an outsider who knew her own worth. She stuck to that, and in doing so, she was able to evoke positive change in a pretty flawed environment. I think that's at the core of why Beauty and the Beast ended up being such a beautiful movie and why Belle ended up being such a beloved character, because she was born out of real-life, relatable circumstances. She's ostracized for being different, and obviously it affects her self-esteem, but she's still able to power through it because she knows her own worth, and beyond that, she's able to recognize the worth in other people and help them see that in themselves. And on top of all of that, the really special thing with Belle is that in a lot of ways, she's not special. She's an average, normal person. You know, she doesn't have a tragic family history the way that Snow White does, or the way that Cinderella does. She doesn't go to war for her country the way that Mulan does, or Pocahontas does. She isn't born into royalty like 99% of the other Disney princesses. She's just a normal person who wants more out of life, with exceptional nuance and depth. Like everybody. She's one of Disney's most real characters. But the truly incredible thing about Belle is how the character has continued to evolve and speak to people for years after the release of the film, and all because of the values that Woolverton wove into the character that speaks so strongly to everyone. First, Susan Egan. You probably know her as the voice of Megara in Hercules. She was also the original Belle on Broadway in Beauty and the Beast. And she was responsible for one of the show's most important scenes being rewritten and strengthened. Linda Woolverton was hired to adapt her screenplay to the stage when Beauty and the Beast was going to Broadway, and during the rehearsal process, Susan Egan had a discussion with her and said that she felt as though Belle needed higher stakes to justify leaving the castle and breaking her promise than what was seen in the film. She had to feel as though her life was legitimately in danger. But the flip side of that is, how do you do that without making the Beast a character who's irredeemable? So Susan Egan did the most Belle thing ever and suggested they take inspiration from a classic novel of mice and men. Specifically the whole thing with Lenny and the bunny where he doesn't recognize his own strength and then it puts the bunny in danger. So the scene was rewritten, and in the script as it stands now, the Beast tears Belle's sleeve, and then she feels that that kind of infringes on her personal bubble of safety, and then that's why she leaves. It makes the show a whole lot better. The point is this. Belle comes under fire from time to time for being a potentially passive character and for letting herself be kidnapped. But Susan Egan understood Belle's integrity, and she knew that she was someone who was not going to break a promise unless it was the only option, because Belle still prioritized her own safety and her own life above everything else. And it is so incredible that this character is that well written that someone was able to provide that insight to the person who created the character. We saw something similar when Emma Watson took on the role of Belle for the live-action Beauty and the Beast. Now, I have mixed feelings on that film, but in a lot of ways, I really do think Emma Watson was the perfect person to play Belle, if you look past the singing and some of the acting. But she saw Belle as an extension of her humanitarian work, and one thing that I love is how she collaborated with the production team and incorporated the element of Belle being passionate about teaching girls in the town to read. It was such a brilliant extension of the elements that were present in the original animated film, and it commented on the importance of education, the power of books, and how all of that played into the ostracization of a woman in a society where they did not want women to read. Is ostracization a word? I should read more. And beyond how the character has changed for different adaptations of the animated film, Belle has been a catalyst for real-world change in more ways than one. First off, Beauty and the Beast was Disney's first Broadway production. And even though the New York theater scene didn't want them at first, The success of Beauty and the Beast reinvigorated the New York theater scene. It was bringing audiences to the city that would have not seen a Broadway show prior. And not just the little kids, the parents of the little kids. Other big production companies saw the success that Disney was having with Beauty and the Beast, and then it motivated them to put money into their own production. So, Beauty and the Beast saved Broadway. Over the course of its 13-year run, there were approximately 20 Belles on Broadway, one of which was R&B superstar Toni Braxton. And this is so revolutionary because it was the first time a black performer portrayed a Disney princess anywhere.
How do you like the audiences, though?
I love that. That's fantastic, especially when the little kids are there, and it brings me so much joy to hear them. And one little kid said, "Mommy, is that Belle? It's a different Belle. Belle looks different." It was so cute.
And that's a great thing, too, because of the casting, non-traditional casting. You're the first African-American to play Belle, are you not?
Yeah, that makes me feel really good. So bring your kids, bring your family so they can enjoy it. It's great.
Honestly, that deserves a video of its own, which I'm probably going to make, so stay tuned. And then finally, you have Paige O'Hara, the original voice of Belle, someone who has used her platform as a Disney legend for the past almost 30 years to raise money for charity and to also do community work to bring the arts and exposure to the arts to kids in her community. Belle's impact is almost immeasurable. She means so much to so many people, and she's a character with a legacy that's pretty well unmatched by any other Disney character. Without Belle, we wouldn't have any of the revolutionary characters who followed her, like Tiana or Mulan or Anna. Without her film, the entertainment industry would look very different today. And even though Belle's evolution and character has been at the hands of many incredible artists, I think it's so important to remember that it all started with Linda Woolverton knowing her worth and using that to bring out the good in the environment around her. Well, friends, that concludes yet another episode of Teacup For One. Oh, before I wrap things up, I should also point out that this incredible art print is by Paige O'Hara, aka the original voice of Belle herself, and it's autographed by her. It's so cool. Anyway, for my question today, I would like to know, who do you think of when you think of Belle? Are you a Paige O'Hara fan? Are you a Susan Egan person? Are you in support of whatever Emma Watson did in the live action version? Let me know. Also, if you want to hear more about why Linda Woolverton is a genius and why Gaston is actually the title character in Beauty and the Beast, click on that video right over there. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, but you want to hear me talk even more about Disney, all you gotta do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Matt out. Watch the Gaston video, it's really good.